up space flight or exploration in any conversation, and everyone has something to say. People respond to space flight emotionally, intellectually, or both. People are astonished, anxious, awestruck, and enthused, sometimes all at once, by all space has to offer. Whether space exploration is something you support, dread, or find merely shrug-worthy, it's worth taking into consideration, and there's a reason for this. Space flight and space exploration, once a fantasy or dream, is now an idea whose time has come. Like it or not, space is not just the place of cryptic rocket scientists. It's a wedge issue. Better than the death penalty, war, or even gay marriage. Space simultaneously strikes at the heart of bread and butter issues like globalization, health care, the environment, technology, women's issues, art, and culture. All people everywhere, every class, every race, every religion, and those with no religion, look up and see the stars. Space enchants and repels just by being there. For those inclined to write off the whole discussion to the self-interests of government agencies or well-heeled entrepreneurs, the space debate is more complex and often more pragmatic than the way it's portrayed in popular culture. Attitudes toward space run the gamut, from champions and devotees to skeptics and the conflicted. Of conversation, Cicero advised, it ought to be gentle and without a trace of intransigence. It should also be witty. Conversation may be one of the most powerful remedies for restoring the mind to its tranquility. Your guides through this conversation about space represent an array of individuals on all sides of the debate. Professors from prestigious institutions, Dr. Paul Joss, MIT, Dr. Chris Boshausen, Sydney University, Eva C. Isle, MD, PhD, University of California, San Francisco, the artists, Rob Hughes, Alan Chan, the aviator entrepreneur, Nigel Bird, the economist environmentalist, Shabir Ali, the skeptics attorneys, Jack Zanini, Tim Pomeroy, the future, Maryam Al-Jawan, gregarious extrovert or social pariah, talking about space is a great conversation starter.
Lots and lots of people. I get email messages and letters and so forth almost every day from people who are interested, who have questions. There's so many that I can't even answer all of them, but I answer as many as I can. I don't know what percentage of the population there is, but what they may lack in numbers, they more than make up for it in enthusiasm. And it's wonderful to know that they're out there.
It's a very good point. Who does care? Well, obviously some people care. Probably more people will care and do care. There's a lot of people that don't realize that they should care.
Just spending a moment a day or every now and again thinking about space and your place in the universe is, it's inspirational and motivational and allows you to use part of the brain that you wouldn't normally use, just like learning to play the piano, or performing some art. Being involved in space and thinking about space, it allows you to change the way you think about the world.
Greeks, Aristotle, Plato suggested that philosophy begins in wonder. And certainly I think there's something very special about the wonder of space travel. But I am concerned that it might be something of a siren song.
Well, Postcards is basically my answer to the critics' question of why we should go. In a certain sense, it's done because when President Bush announced the new vision for space exploration, it was basically a lot of talk, and there was, I don't think the American public really understood what it meant to go back into space or essentially restart space exploration.
This is something that we need for many reasons. We need it because we have a natural desire to explore. We need it because what's going to happen with planet Earth, we don't know. We need to be there. We need to have a presence there, a friendly presence, a learning presence there.
Discovery, imagination. So just keep imagining and discovering. That's what's interesting about space. It doesn't mean like I want to live in Mars or something. Just like discovering new things and looking back what we've discovered. Just make all this connection.
Every baby has the urge to explore. Kids crawl, they walk, they try to run. It's totally normal, natural for humans to have the urge to explore. But we place limits on exploration because exploration can be dangerous. Sometimes people don't even realize that they need to have limits placed on the pursuit of their desires.
A lot of people have a lot of opinion about space, but they don't have a lot of knowledge about what's actually being done. And it's incumbent upon people in the space community and actually the environmental community to make it relevant, but make it, again, easy to participate.
The astronauts' perspective on the Earth, significant change was reported in their perspectives of the Earth. So most everybody reported a very strong positive change in their appreciation for the Earth, their understanding of the fragility of the Earth, their appreciation for the beauty of the Earth. The Earth functions as a whole, and having that global perspective allowed them to have a more integrated view of the Earth and its fragility.
I can't think of any better reason to do something than because you love it. And some people love space. People often ask me what space is, what is the attraction, how is it different than here? And my answer is that space isn't anything different. It's just part of the world in which we live. And since the creation of space flight, our world was no longer flat, a thin surface on the Earth, but extended out into space. And space is nothing special other than just a place for us to live and work and do things.
Mastery, power, the human desire for control, it's all very basic.
To really go and say, I should spend $400 billion on building some new space program to go to the moon or to go to Mars, when there's so much world poverty in the world. There could be some, this is the Hollywood aspect coming in here, some natural known disaster that's about to happen. And wouldn't it be nice to save some of the species so they could return? Twice there's been some catastrophic event that has happened on the world that has wiped out all known life, and they kind of started again. Do we want to start again and become, come up from the apes and go through all that again, Neanderthal man? Probably not. It'd be nice to jumpstart that.
As an American, I guess I'm all for space exploration to the extent that it will help our country maintain our military and economic and strategic advantage. I think for that reason it might be very important for the United States to stay in space.
Why do we explore? Why do we have to go to space? Because as humans, we have to tell a story, and we have to become part of the story. And it's just what we do. We are storytellers by nature. Space exploration is a major part of that, of the next step of telling our story.
Well, working in the space industry is interesting because every day discovering new things, possibilities of new things. That is just to kind of motivate me to work in the space industry. That's what I like about space.
Ultimately, this pushing and this desire to learn more and to do more and to exact greater control over our natural world and so on and so forth, I believe that is probably a double-edged sword.
Maybe we aren't supposed to be in the heavens. We need to learn to live within our limits, whatever those limits may be.
It's our sense of wonderment and curiosity, causing us to explore new frontiers, new adventures. It's what, to a very large extent, drove Leif Erikson and Christopher Columbus to discover the New World, that caused people to set out from their homes under terribly adverse conditions to travel across the American continent and find out what was on the other side of the mountains.
As the Bob Dylan song goes, he said his name was Columbus, and I just said, good luck.
According to a document from the Kennedy Space Center website, since 1976, there have been at least 1,300 spin-offs from the space era.
Let's take that list of the 127 or whatever number of products that they've invented, and then let's add up NASA's budget over 50 years.
And unfortunately, we're not aware of what these technologies are.
Look at their budget over the last 10 or 15 years.
The household goods.
Somewhere north of 10 billion.
Handheld calculators.
Between 12 and 16, so let's just take an average.
Prosthesis materials.
12 billion a year.
The improvements.
For 50 years.
Velcro.
I can't imagine living without Velcro.
The appliances. Teflon.
It comes out to roughly $600 billion.
And cordless power tools. I would suggest that we check out this website. All of these everyday items that we've grown accustomed to using came into everyday use because of the space program.
If the justification for going to the moon is that we might get Velcro, that's not the reason to go to the moon, because you can invest a lot less money to invent Velcro. Those technologies are great side effects of the things NASA was trying to do. They can't be the justification for what NASA is trying to do. The best thing that the government should do in terms of helping NASA with that is to actually let NASA keep revenues generated from technologies that commercialize out of labs as a way to supplement their budget, because then it might actually drive innovation that would be commercially applicable.
People talk about, isn't it wasteful to spend all this money in space? No, it's not. And I'm not talking about the spin-offs. I think that's a bogus argument, that it's not worth spending $100 billion to invent Tang.
One should not underestimate the importance of powdered drinks to the American public.
That's not the point. What's really the point is that not a single nickel is spent in space. Every single dollar is spent here on Earth. That is a good thing for our economy.
And this is where I think it's very important for us to build a bridge with the environmental community, the Sierra Club, Nature Conservancy, and the rest, to create a space/environmental discussion forum to try to make it relevant to people. Because space has helped the environmental community a lot with providing information and monitoring. I think that the other way around can work as well.
The space tourism that we're on the cusp of is literally that. It's a 5-minute trip to space, but it's a start, and it's exciting.
You know, we've heard a lot about space tourism recently as the next frontiers for space exploration, but I think it's an excuse. And, you know, it's a reason to change legislation or to get money or to get people who are interested in space. And the idea that the common person can go to space is a great outreach exercise to get them enrolled in the idea. But I don't think that space tourism is the next big market or the way that the space frontier will open up.
Burt Rutan, I believe, would even say that going to what he did with Spaceship One, which is 100 kilometers, which is the defined edge of space, versus going to the space station or anywhere above that, is a fundamentally different prospect.
I came here to give you these facts. Flying saucers have invaded our planet. Washington, Moscow are key targets. The whole world is under attack. In the city of Washington. Never before has the screen reached such heights of... While captive Earth people fight for their lives.
It is indeed typical that you Earth people refuse to believe in the superiority of any world but your own. Run!
Humans at will for their own sinister purposes.
What do you think of all this, Monsieur Jean Darbon? I think fiction goes beyond reality.
Films and popular culture inspire the geeks, and it's more material for the converted, I think. So for them, it's often was the genesis of their interest in space and their love of space, and I think it's helped bring a lot of very smart and very talented people into the space industry.
Do I think that pop culture and films and all that really prepare us? I'm not sure, because I'm not sure that popular entertainment accurately reflects life as it exists now, let alone life as it might exist in space or when we're confronted with aliens or what have you.
Some people say that the way Hollywood represents space is that it's too simplified, it's not real, and that it doesn't do justice to the real challenges of building space missions. I just don't think people think about it. It looks cool, they go home, they get on with their job. Nobody expects reality in their entertainment, and I don't think we should demand that from the filmmakers.
Science fiction. In Star Trek, the original series, and even The Next Generation, they dealt with issues that were groundbreaking for the time. Issues that you couldn't deal with in modern television programming. They had the first interracial kiss on television. But it was sci-fi. It was abstracted from today, so it was not an issue that immediately created censorship issues or problems like that.
Many people ask me, do you like Star Trek? No, I don't like it. It doesn't mean I like space, I would like space movies. I don't like it, I never liked it. I tried to watch it when I was a teenager, but I couldn't.
Part of what we're trying to do with postcards is to visualize what it might be, 10, 20 years from now, and suggest to people that this is what's possible, and hopefully get a few people more involved and more inspired to actually want to explore the possibility of doing this.
When I was in junior high school, I became a fan of the television series Cosmos, and was very much impressed with Carl Sagan's approach to science, not just astronomy, but science in general, and how it was a unifying idea that brought humanity together.
I was a graduate student at Cornell in the late 60s and early 70s, which was the same time that Carl Sagan was a brand new assistant professor there. He had lunch and dinner together occasionally. And we hit it off kind of in a way because we were the only two people there at that time who were really interested in scientific or philosophical and theological implications of science.
And his very humanistic approach to science and space and issues affecting the Earth were very influential for me. And it led me to consider the idea of being a mission specialist in the space program.
When Carl decided to write a book, a novel called Contact, about the first connection between the human race and extraterrestrial intelligence, there was a lot in the book about the religious implications, and apparently I was the closest person that Carl knew to qualifying as someone interested in those kinds of issues, so I became the theologian in the book. So Carl called me and asked if he could use my name as that character in the book, which he changed slightly to Palmer Joss from Paul Joss. And then, of course, it was another 11 years later that the movie rights were bought out by Warner Brothers, and they made the film Contact, which was also a lot of fun for me. I liked the character that I was in the novel. I wasn't too thrilled with the character that I was in the movie played by Matthew McConaughey, but still, it was a lot of fun just being a character in a movie, even if it was a fictional movie.
The universe is a really, really big place. I think it's an incredible conceit to think that we are the only ones.
It disturbs me. It puzzles me. I find it very mysterious that we have not yet seen any signs of intelligent life beyond the Earth.
What was the old quote, the best sign that there's life in space or the intelligence in space is that they haven't tried to contact us?
It should have been clear by now if it's out there, if it's commonplace. One possibility is what I might call the nature preserve hypothesis. That is, civilizations that have been out there for vastly longer than we have been here, vastly longer than we can imagine, maybe tens or hundreds or thousands of millions of years. When a new intelligent species comes into existence like our own, hide yourself from us. Let this new civilization on this new planet called Earth develop its own art forms, its own architecture, its own philosophy, and that will enrich all of the civilizations in the universe.
I certainly do not view the prospect of encountering aliens with some sort of wide-eyed hope and expectation of mutual growth and learning. I think that an encounter with an extraterrestrial would be extraordinarily dangerous.
Another possibility is a sad one, that maybe an innate property of intelligent life is that intelligent life just ain't intelligent enough not to know to destroy itself one way or another. There's a third possibility. Also makes me sad. I hope it's not true. And that is that we really are alone.
Since I was a kid, I just loved to look at the stars, just wondering what can be behind that. So I think people should look at space too. Just think as you being in space, looking down on Earth. You think people arguing and having problem with each other, just kind of stupid.
Maybe, in one sense, space travel offers a chance for the first real global community, and somehow they learn to communicate and get along with each other.
The Earth, there's only a certain finite number of people that can coexist on the Earth, so that at some point we're going to outgrow our planet, and it would be nice to have an alternative.
In Australia, they have a term for it for people like us who actually believe in space and really want to see it develop. We're called space tragics, and it's almost like we're Sisyphus. And we're just pushing that boulder uphill over and over and over again. Nothing's happening because the vast majority of the world doesn't care. We found this with the Apollo program. As soon as we landed, no one cared. They turned their TV over to whatever show was on ABC or NBC or CBS at the time.
The people that were born since the last moon landing are growing up believing, hearing a myth that people went to the moon. We're at great risk of in the future having nobody alive who's been to the moon. great danger of it becoming, not only something of the past, but also possibly something that they barely believe even happened. And I've heard it said that the boom or the number of scientists and engineers that followed the Apollo missions was due directly to the fact that we went to the moon. Not having something like that at the moment is, it's a great loss for mankind, and a space program, if nothing else, serves as a great motivator for people.
This to me is that basically we've dropped the ball as far as inspiring young children to take up the calling.
It's very telling that when you ask children, when they're 6, 7, 8 years old, whatever, what they want to be when they grow up, by the time they get to high school, astronauts drop off the list.
Particularly in this country, I think it's a problem worldwide, but it's particularly true in this country, is that kids, at least at the high school level and earlier, K through 12, don't get that kind of sense of wonder from their teachers.
Kids are inquisitive. Space exploration is a wonderful opportunity for them to nurture that inquisitiveness. And I think it's important for our society to continue to encourage these kids through education and through opportunities to explore, whether it's space or whatever project they'd be interested in here on Earth. Knowledge will triumph over superstition and fear.
Some people say that Earth is our home and there's no reason why we should leave, but, almost any teenager knows why you want to leave home.
Civilization depends on skill, common interest, and communication. If it's true that everyone has an opinion, space is the place about which they have that opinion. There's something for everyone to rant about. Space is the definitive social arbiter, and people have been talking about it since the first human lifted his or her eyes from the earth and saw the stars high above.